What's up, everybody? My name is KSaun, and welcome back to the WDL, War of the Visions Draft League. We are officially 3 weeks into our season, 1/3 of the way through. It's been really exciting. The standings have been really competitive. All the matches have been a lot of fun. I highly encourage, if you guys haven't seen the first 3 weeks of our season or the draft analysis video, to go watch that before you watch this video here. However, if you are looking for some really awesome PvP matches featuring niche units like SRs, MRs, R rarity units, or just a lot of units you don't see all the time, trying to get away from that just like top meta in every single fight, you have come to the right place. We have some really cool matchups for you guys today, and I'm excited to get into it, so let's start. So for our very first match, I'm actually going to show you guys my match today versus MaechenX. So as you guys see here, we are both currently tied at 4 points. So we both have one series win, one series loss where we lost 0-2, and then one mitigated series loss where we essentially won a game in our series but didn't win the entire series. So this matchup's very important, and we're going to see how this matchup works out for us. So first of all, looking at my team compared to MaechenX's, I said this last week, but I thought week 3 and week 4 was the worst 2-week stretch in terms of perceived schedule for my team personally. The reason that I say that is week 3, I played Spike, who has a lot of ice and earth units. And wouldn't you know it, MaechenX has the exact same thing. So this is a little bit of a struggle for my team to try and put something together because earth obviously counters lightning, which is my strongest element on my team currently. And the thing is, he can also bring some ice as a splash to work against my win units that I have to beat the earth. So if I bring Gargus to try and beat KSaun or Zazan, which could work very well because he has guaranteed hits and can do a decent amount of damage to them, if he brings 1 or 2 ice units, like, I'm pretty much automatically going to lose the fight. So it's very much a mind game here, trying to figure out what he is going to bring match 1 and different things like that. My personal thought process going into this was I thought the obvious play was that he would bring earth, and because of that, I thought he would actually go ice round 1. The other reason for that was that I thought if he brought ice and I brought wind, he guarantees wins it. If he brings ice into my lightning team, I'm very physical focused, not magical focused as a team, and I thought him bringing frostbite actually gave him a really good chance to win, even if he didn't have that elemental matchup. So you're going to see my first team that I bring today. I'm going into it thinking that he's probably bringing ice. We're going to see what he actually brought for match 1. So guys, as I normally do for my own team, I'm going to give you a little snapshot of what I'm bringing specifically for this matchup against MaechenX on this map. And for you guys that don't know, we do a different map every single week. For week 4, our map is Underground Ruins 2. This is a map that very much works in favor of like missile units, long range mages, people who can, vary with different heights and different things like that. It definitely benefits those types of units. So I had a thought process going into this series that because MaechenX, I felt like kind of countered my team elementally, I thought if I could somehow cheese a win in game 1, I might have a chance of taking the series. I felt like if I played just standard compositions in this series, I thought at best case scenario, I'd probably only win 1 match of the 3. Whether or not that's true, I'm not entirely sure, but that was kind of my thought process going into it. So I tested this against a handful of different comps, and every single one, it worked for the most part exactly how I wanted. Essentially, my thought process was I was going to give Cloud the Tourmaline ring so that he could jump up to get on a very specific platform. I also gave it to Helena so that she could have jump 2. Nivlu starts with jump 2 innately. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing a double quicken strategy on Cloud. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is I thought essentially that he was going to bring ice round 1. And if I did that by getting AP up on Cloud immediately and then double quickening, he's going to have a ton of AP. So for one, even if I do get frostbitten by Curry in this matchup, he's still going to have a lot of AP because he had 2 full turns of Bell's AP before he got frostbitten. The other thing was I figured with 2 turns for Cloud, either being able to run forward and get like a triple slash off or a couple of barrages off or something like that, I thought it was very possible that I could pick off either Eliza or Curry to start the fight. And if I did that, I thought I would be pretty successful. So let's see if my strategy worked in this match. All right, so for match 1 here, you guys are going to notice that he did not run ice. He did the obvious play in my head, which was the Earth team, and I probably should have expected that. But even that being said, every single comp I had tested against, the Quicken worked to the point where I could hit somebody at least once, if not twice, guaranteed. MaechenX here, you're going to see, positioned his units in the very far back right. And I think is literally in the only position in this map that Cloud can't immediately hit with Quicken. So, as you can see, my units all popping up on the same platform, getting the double Quicken off. So Helena's going to Quicken Cloud. He is not in range to hit, so he's going to use Punisher mode, get that AoE resist up. He has tons of AP right now. But again, the problem is he's not in range to hit. So MaechenX is going to go and do his buff rotation, different things like that. Nivlu's going to get another Quicken on Cloud. He's not going to do anything. So he is running way out front, which is not what I want. And he has 161 AP and was not able to hit anyone. So this is not at all working like I wanted. Every single test I had done, he had gotten basically multiple attacks off. Unfortunately, MaechenX not only brought Earth, but he also found the one position where it actually beats the double Quicken strat. So very good on him. Nivlu is going to walk up though and try and get a Quicken on Cloud here. Unfortunately, the Helena actually quickens Nivlu, which kind of is not exactly what I wanted. But can Cloud walk up and get a triple slash plus? He actually doesn't. He gets the barrage off, which he doesn't have the accuracy to hit the Earth evasion units, but he one-shots the Blade, which is nice. So at this point, he can either triple slash plus or he can sharpshoot. He goes with the sharpshoot, especially because MaechenX made a smart move using an AoE resist buff to start the fight, which is King Mon's TMR. So unfortunately, Cloud goes down almost immediately to the KSaun and Zazan combo. Nivlu is also going to get decimated. And this is one of the things with the double Quicken strategy. If you guys haven't seen it already, in Orange A's Friday Night Fights, I have busted out a double Quicken strat before with Medina, running a Medina bomb. And it's one of those strategies that you either decimate your opponent or you get decimated. And unfortunately, MaechenX brought the perfect comp and had the perfect positioning to beat me in this first fight. So as you guys are going to see, MaechenX is going to take the victory in round 1. Very, very well played by him. And we'll see if I can do anything differently in match 2. Okay, guys, so for match 2, I know what you guys are probably thinking. Dude, you're crazy. You just got beaten by Earth units. Are you really going to bring Lightning? Yes, I am. So first of all, I thought that it was obvious, again, if I just got beat by Earth, that I would probably switch up and go something like Gargus. My personal opinion, though, was I expected Machen to essentially do a mixed comp with something like Eliza, Curry, and KSaun. The reason that I expected him to do this was I thought KSaun would be enough of a counter to my Lightning units, and bringing Eliza and Curry would essentially probably get rid of Gargus before he's able to beat the Earth units, was essentially my thought process. So what I did was, you know what? I'm going to bring my Lightning team. I'm going to stack up resistances that I think can prevent taking too much damage from a KSaun or an Eliza or something like that. If I just bring my team, my standard Lightning team with a healer in the back and just make them very, very bulky, I thought I could potentially out-sustain them because he likely won't bring a healer. So if I can just like not get one shot, I have a healer in the back, I have a tank, and I have Cloud slowly doing damage over time. I thought just running this standard composition could potentially work out for me. I will note that I actually tested this against another player in our league, JesusLBL, running a full Earth Evasion team, and this team with the 2 Lightning units actually beat his Earth Evade team. So there is a realm where if he brings full Earth, this team also could win against that. So I just wanted to point that out. A couple of Espers that I'm bringing here. Cloud, I have the Golem Esper. This gives him Earth resistance, and it also has Man-Eater, so it works well on both his slash and missile attacks. And it also gives him defense as well. For Charlotte, she has the Golden Ahriman Esper, and this actually is giving her both Ice and Earth resist. It innately gives 10 Earth resist, and then it has Ice resist nodes. Also, again, giving defense. So basically just very good Espers for against either Earth or Ice, depending on what he brings. I'm also running TMRs like King Mon's TMR and Aerith's TMR that is going to pump up the unit resist and the AoE resist of the party. Okay, so for match 2, MaechenX brings the exact team that I actually expected him to bring. He brings the KSaun, he brings Curry, and he brings Eliza. So kind of what I expected. And KSaun's going to walk back. She's going to actually use Elda's TMR, try and get that max HP up. It also has evasion up on the TMR just stat line, so that's very, very smart. I tried to get a really good really good buff rotation off immediately here. Cloud's going to go in the middle, get that Soldier's Honor buff off. I actually have Charlotte's own TMR on her so that she has a shield first before she gets a trackball off. And here I have Naya running regen, because I want her to be able to get 2 buffs off. So she's going to do regen on the whole party and then use Aerith's TMR. MaechenX still doing that early buff rotation as well to try and get that damage up, attack and agility, I believe actually it gives. So a very smart move by him. And one thing about KSaun is she really doesn't have a lot of any really group buffs. So she has her TMR to use, and then she's pretty much going to use Utu Semi, or however you pronounce it, and run forward. So Naya gets the unit resist buff off. And then basically my team is just going to take turns buffing and moving forward very, very slowly. Get the AoE resist up on both Cloud and Charlotte. And at this point, Charlotte should use a track wall next. And my team is going to be very, very tanky, at least for the first couple turns of taking damage. So Curry's going to walk forward. He doesn't really get to do anything. And unfortunately, guys, I will say this video does have a decent amount of time in between movements and turns and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we didn't have the greatest connection in the world, but that's okay. So KSaun's going to, again, do her Utsusemi buff or whatever. Eliza takes out the limit break on Charlotte. You're going to notice only 1326 damage. So Charlotte actually tanks this incredibly well. So my strategy up to this point is working, in my opinion. It's doing exactly what I wanted. I wanted to just tank and sustain. So Naya's going to charge a buff. Cloud's going to sharpshoot KSaun. Unfortunately, that does very, very little damage. So that has me a little worried. But if I can get past the KSaun, get into the backline, and kill the Curry and Eliza, I think I can slowly whittle down KSaun after. So Charlotte drops the limit break. She has the accuracy, drops the attack and magic of KSaun. And Curry's going to walk up, pop the Shadow Bind, 1697, not crazy damage on a Cloud. Again, he does have the unit resist buff, so he is taking less damage. And KSaun, she is likely going to use a Drain Force here, one of 2 skills. Or one thing to note about KSaun is she really doesn't have good AoE attacks. She has a lot of good single target attacks. She has Drain Force, and she has her like Debilitator move that drops unit resist. So you're going to see the AoE damage coming out from Eliza, only 1700 to Cloud. So up to this point, my team is doing exactly what I wanted. The one problem that I'm going to note here is that KSaun is standing in the only spot that I can actually get through here. So Naya's going to walk up, and I'm thinking that she's walking up, probably channeling a Kiraga. Unfortunately, she's actually channeling regen. So I've said before in a different match that I think Naya's AI is really, really smart. One thing I will note is that I'm not sure regen is worth using, because it seems like in certain situations, instead of using Kiraga, she might just regen the party. And I think that is so much less impact than using the Kiraga, especially because her Kiraga gives CT up, that I think if you're going to use Naya, very good likelihood that you want to just turn regen off in general. So she fortunately just barely lives that fight, that AoE attack from Curry. But unfortunately, Cloud also gets Frostbite. I will note that I was running a 25% Frostbite resist rune on Cloud, and he only has 50 faith, but he still got procced by the Frostbite, and Charlotte goes down. So at this point, I need Naya to hit a full life, or else this is going to be very, very grim for me. Cloud gets a barrage off, almost kills the Curry. So this kind of goes back to my match 1 strategy. If he's able to get 2 barrages off immediately, Curry's probably dead right out of the gate. So that is kind of what I was thinking in my original Quicken strategy match 1. So if Naya can get the full life off, this could be pretty huge. And we're going to see what happens next here. KSaun pops the Drain Force, kills Cloud, unfortunately. So now I have 2 units dead, and now this is looking very, very grim for me. The chances that I win this fight are essentially 0. So you're going to see Curry walks up, gets the kill onto Naya. I will say, very, very well played by MaechenX. I thought he did a really, really good job in choosing his team comps, especially match 2 with the mixed element strategy. I'm not sure that I had a perfect or good answer to this. The other thing is like running evasion and stuff like that. He has units like Curry or Eliza that can run like Ranger sub and have sharpshoot for like guaranteed hits. So it's just a very, very difficult comp for me. I'm not feeling discouraged because I do feel like I can still make a run throughout the rest of the season. We have 5 weeks left for me to make some noise, and I hope to do so. I will say, like I said before, I think week 3 and week 4 were probably my worst matchups that I could ask for. So that being said, nothing to take away from MaechenX. He played it very, very well. He's got a fantastic team. Congrats to him. And let's check out the next match. All right, guys, so for our second series today, we've got JEBAW and the Sappers currently with 6 points versus Sandrooster and the Slim Chance Brigade currently sitting at 3 points. Just taking a quick look at this matchup, I will say Sandrooster having the Terra, Summer Ketone, and Ishtola comp, that is something that he's been riding quite a bit. Looking at JEBAW's team, I will say bringing a lot of magic damage, I think he's probably able to eat through the MR tanks fairly well up to this point. And I think the MR tanks are kind of the main strategy that JEBAW has. He does have Little Leela who can actually tank magic attacks quite well if he chooses to go that route. But it'll be interesting to see what he chooses. JEBAW could run something like Summer Elsorel to try and beat the fire mages. However, Sandrooster does have lightning mages as well to kind of counter that. So it'll be kind of an interesting little rock, paper, scissors, element guess matchup. And we'll see how this matchup plays out. All right, guys. So as you can see, Summer Ketone and Dario are the kind of front and center units here that we've got on the screen. So what teams are they going to be bringing behind those units? We are about to find out. So Summer Ketone, Stilma, and Skahal versus Dario, Summer Elsorel, and Little Leela. So very interesting. And so still bringing one of his fire mages, Sandrooster is, but is going with the lightning to try and beat that Summer Elsorel that he kind of expected here. The nice thing about Skahal is that he does have Time Mage sub, so being able to either haste or quicken your allies is super, super useful. Skahal is one of my absolute favorite units. I think he's very, very underrated. Summer Elsorel popping March of the Wolf Princess. This is Regalia Glaciela's TMR, actually. And Summer Little Leela. Hopefully not Summer Little Leela. We've got enough Little Leelas running around, but standard Little Leela getting a spirit buff up on herself. And Summer Ketone going to get an AoE buff on the party. So Sandrooster's team is a lot of offense, like a lot of offense. No tanks, but a ton of damage. So I'm curious to see how this works against kind of two sort of tanky characters from JEBAW's side. I think it's going to be really, really hard for Summer Elsorel to deal with the elemental disadvantage, I think is the thing. So what are Summer Ketone channeling here? And Silma, what damage can she get off? Jamming Thrust. Silma does have enhanced range on Jamming Thrust compared to most red mages. It's actually an insane amount of range. I think it's like 6, maybe even 7 spaces. It's pretty crazy. So Skahal's going to walk forward, actually do the Divine Thunder Summon. This is actually something that's very, very rare from Skahal. He almost always prioritizes Thundaga Disposer. I think the only reason that he did this here was because Dario actually had a magic shield, and because Skahal's Limit Break is a 3-hit attack, it actually helps break that shield faster. So Jamming Thrust comes out, 14,499 damage on the Summer Elsorel. She unfortunately didn't have Courage up, and that is a one-shot, so it's going to look pretty grim here for JEBAW in match 1. As you can see, though, the Little Leela tanks that damage very, very well. So one thing I'm curious to see is, would JEBAW ever consider running like a Vow of Love or a Bowtie or something like that on Little Leela against a mage team to see if she can take some hate? I know she does have access to Taunting Spell, but she actually has to get that attack off in order to get hate. So I'm curious if running a sub VC or a Bowtie or something could be worthwhile, just because she can tank that magic damage so well. As you can see, it took, I think, 4 or 5 hits for her to go down. That being said, nice win for Sandrooster in match 1, and curious to see how JEBAW responds in match 2. All right, guys, so for match number 2 here, we've got Summer Jaden showing, so definitely a switch up from JEBAW. So he's not going to run the same team. I think that's a smart move, considering Sandrooster's bringing those lightning mages. Summer Elsorel just doesn't stand a chance. Switching up to the Ravis instead of the Dario. So I do find this interesting. Still going with Little Leela. I wonder if Ravis can be any more effective than Dario. Traditionally, Dario is better versus Magic than Ravi's. However, Ravi's does have courage. And she can also run the shield from Charlotte's TMR. So I think that's probably something that we're going to see from JEBAW. Yep, does pop the Immortal Spirit turn 1. And gets the anti-magic wall up on Summer Ketone. And honestly, like these magic damage dealers from Sandrooster honestly have so many good methods of getting around magic damage themselves. So curious to see if Summer Jaden can get through that. That being said, Summer Jaden has a ton of piercing in his kit, so he might just be able to do that. So Summer Jaden, I think, must have one of his buffs turned off because he just moved there instead of actually using something. Skahal getting a double haste off is very nice for his team. And it looks like the exact same setup for Sandrooster up to this point. The biggest difference here is that Little Leela is the first up here, the one taking the jamming thrust, and she tanks that quite well. Ravi's does have her shield online and courage, so likely it will take at least 3 hits to kill her, if not 4. It depends on who hits her. And Little Leela's going to step up. However, she can't really get anything done here. Skahal's going to channel. It's got to be Thundaga Disposer. It is 8,500 damage. This is why I think Skahal is underrated. He does so much damage. And once his Mastery 2 comes out, look out, man, because he's going to be disgusting. 12k comes out from Silma. So she is just hitting like an absolute truck, especially once that Lightning Resist is down. However, Summer Jaden walks up and gets the one shot on Skahal, so that could be pretty huge. Ravi's still hanging on. Goes for the stun. Unfortunately, does not land it onto Silma. If she lands that, that could be huge, because Silma wouldn't get the kill here, and it would be Summer Ketone having to get it. What can she do, though? One shots to Summer Jaden, and it's looking like lights out for JEBAW here. So Sandrooster, unless Little Leela can pull off something crazy, goes for the Silence Blade. Unfortunately, can't get the silence. Unavailable Pain comes out. Sandrooster's going to 2-0 JEBAW. So if the standings weren't tight enough already, now those two teams are actually tied at 6 points. So congrats to Sandrooster. We'll see how JEBAW can respond next week in week 5. And let's check out the next match. All right, guys, for match number 3, we've got Dr. Dickhead with the Golgari Swarm at 4 points versus Turambar and the Fire Ferrets at 9 points. Turambar currently sitting at 3-0 for his series record. I will note, he has not dropped a single game yet. And up to this point, Joker has not even died yet, which he has brought 4 out of his 6 matches. So very, very impressive start for Turambar. Can Dr. Dickhead be the first person to take him down? We will find out today. So first of all, taking a look at Dr. Dickhead's team, what I expect to see, I don't expect evasion. The reason I say that is because Joker is a very, very accurate unit. Garvel has guaranteed hits. I just really don't expect it. With that Dark team being something that's very, very common from Turambar, and Renell and Joker being high accuracy, Garvel guaranteed hits, I'd be shocked to see Light Evade come out from Dr. Dickhead, I'll be honest. One thing I do expect to see, Little Leela Halloween, she's just so good for her cost that almost whatever comp Dr. Dickhead pulls out, she just fits in that comp. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, he'll probably go with tank, either Mariol or Mont, whichever one he thinks is better off. And from Turambar, just looking at Dr. Dickhead's team, I probably expect Dark, but again, the Garvel Sakura Engelbert team is so damn good. I'm curious to see if we will ever see Velas come out from Turambar, just because these 5 units here are just so incredibly good for their cost. I'm not sure he's ever going to have to use them. So we'll take a look at this match and see what they decide to go with. All right, guys. So match 1 here, we've got Dr. Dickhead with the Mish showing and Turambar with Joker. I did get some information from Dr. Dickhead. He said that he is essentially trying to get a Toad off with Mish in this fight. We'll see if he's able to successfully pull it off. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. So all right, match number 1, the full Dark squad coming up from Turambar, and then Dr. Dickhead actually busting out the 2 Halloween units with Mish. So Joker's going to go with his standard buff right out of the gate, gives him a shield, both physical and magical, and then also gives protect to the party members. Garvel also getting a shield online. This Dark team is so deceptively tanky, considering they don't have a tank, They just have shields and protects and all those types of things. I will say, though, they're more susceptible to magic than they are physical. So probably a good move by Dr. Dickhead bringing out the mages here. All right, so Immortal Spirit going to come off from Halloween Rairu. So he has Courage online, so he will at least live a hit. And Joker has Bells online, so he won't have any sort of AP problems. Meesh running out front. Can he walk up and get a Toad off is the big question. But Garvel's going to walk up, Detonation Blast, and unfortunately Meesh goes down before he's able to cast anything. So there will be no Toad having in this match. Halloween Rairu walking up actually misses the Garvel. So I can't help but wonder what TMR runes that Dr. Dickhead's running. I think he's probably running something like Magic. Can't imagine that he's running Accuracy and Luck. It's one of the things with this Dark team, even though they're not considered evasion units, well, Renell is, but Joker and Garvel aren't considered evasion units, but they have so many, like, dodgy cards and stuff like that they can use, and they're dodgy enough of units that if you're running Luck Trust Stones, they can occasionally dodge attacks, so unfortunately with those kills coming out very, very early, Spirit Blaster coming out, actually, they can't quite kill Little Lila Halloween yet. Renell walks up, arm shot, procs her re-raise. And this might be a perfect game for Turambar. I don't think he took one single damage in that fight. So continues his lossless streak here. It's perfect 7-0 up to this point. Dr. Dickhead's got to come up with something in match 2, or else he's going to be a perfect 8-0. So we'll see what he can do. All right, match number 2 here. So Dr. Dickhead showing the Mont. So definitely changing up his strategy. Looks like Turambar's probably just going to keep that standard Dark team. Basically say, hey, until you beat it, I'm not going to switch. So we'll see how that goes. With Mont showing up, Dr. Dickhead in the past has gone with Black Rose Helena and Little Lila Halloween. It looks like he is going to do that team comp again. So I kind of like this. I think having a tank is important in a lot of matchups. And then the magic damage, I think, is important. Like I said, against this Dark team, they're a little tankier versus physical than they are magic. Not by an insane amount, but they are more susceptible to it. So I think having the double mage could work out for them. One thing to note, too, is that Turambar likes to use a lot of barriers on his units, and Black Rose Helena does have barrier break in her kit. So we'll see if that comes to play here. So Turambar going to go with his pretty standard buff rotation, I would say. Immortal Spirit coming out from Mont. And Little Lila Halloween, I believe, has re-raise. This is something that's very standard from Dr. Dickhead. Something he really likes to do is run that re-raise on Little Lila Halloween. I like the Fleet of Foot buff. It's very, very interesting from the Garvel. This is actually Ketone's TMR. On this map, I think it's actually a really, really smart move by Turambar because it gives him an additional move and jump. Some of the platforms on this map are hard to maneuver unless you have at least 2 jumps, so I think it's a cool move. It's basically like his nimble movement buff, except it actually puts his hate down, so he's less likely to be the one targeted. The Little Lila Halloween does good damage to the Renell, unfortunately doesn't hit the Joker. So Joker, pretty dodgy, just like Garvel was last fight. He actually dodges another attack. That's incredible. So Joker, like, not known as an evasion unit, but he's somewhat dodgy. 2 dodges in a row. I'm very curious to see what kind of accuracy that the Doctor was running. Gets the AoE off, excuse me. So pretty good damage on the Doctor's team. And Garvel goes next. So procs the Courage from Mont. Little Lila goes down. She does have re-raise, though, and she should be able to get a pretty big heal off. So the question is, does she heal? And then Black Rose Helena, what kind of damage can she get off on the next turn? So gets a pretty decent heal. Little Lila is back to full health. Channeling. What is she going to channel? Is it Black Rose's Hex? Is it Judgment? It's actually Devastation. So this is actually the barrier break skill. So that is part of what I was talking about. Knocks out the Garvel. And could this be Turambar's first ever loss? We'll see. It's not impossible for him to win this. He still has Joker alive. Can these two kill Joker? And Little Lila Halloween actually might go for a channel here. She might go for, or maybe she already used full life. I'm not sure. But she actually takes out the Joker. So wow. first loss of the season for Turambar. Now, obviously not a series loss, but the first game loss. And we're going to go to a game 3. So very cool for Dr. Dickhead being the very first person to take a game off him. And let's see if he can take him down in the series. All right, guys. So as I said in the first match, I did get some information from Dr. Dickhead and his thought process this week. The Toad strategy obviously did not work in the first match like he wanted to. He said he figured he would just go standard in the second match and see how it plays out. And he figured he would just run it back the exact same way in match 3. He said if he beat the Dark team once, maybe he could do it again. So he's just running it straight back exactly the same way. In terms of Turambar, on his side, he ran Dark the first 2 times. And he is running Dark again. So interesting to see. Looks like he's changing his initial position, though. He used to have Garvel out on the flank, and now he has all 3 mostly together to try and get those group AoE buffs up. So, well, interesting to see how this differs. Can Dr. Dickhead pull off the upset, or does Turambar stay undefeated in his series record? Let's see. So, Joker gets the shield on himself. The protect among the team really doesn't do much of anything. You're not relying on Mont for much damage. And a lot of magic damage coming out from Dr. Dickhead's team. However, Boon of the Lion, the Kingmon TMR is always a really, really good buff. Group AoE resist up is very good, especially against units that don't have a Dispel. Mont's going to walk forward. Little Leela Halloween does some okay damage to Renelle. Probably about half her health, I would say. And the Revitalize comes out from Joker, so he's got his bells online. Renelle goes, Gloombound Trinity. Gets the agility down, too. I'm actually not sure if that skill does agility down, or if that is the Thornlet on Turambar's unit. If so, that's a very cool tech. I like it a lot. It might drop agility, though. I'm actually not super familiar with Renelle's kit, so it's very possible that just drops agility on its own. Height 3 Kira coming out from Little Leela, so they are full health again. Black Rose Judgment comes out, and it is a 3v2, so Dr. Dickhead looking decent here. However, Twin Chi Rupture does a ton of damage. Can Joker proc the Courage? I assume he can. Double shot hits. Mont's Courage is up. Can Little Leela Halloween get a heal on him? And can Helena do some damage? That's the question. It'd almost be better if Little Leela went for damage here, actually. Gets the cure up, but I'm not sure if that's going to do enough. The Devastation, nice to destroy those barriers. Concentrated She-Lancer comes out, though. Is this an AoE onto the whole team? It is. That's some really, really good damage coming out from him. Joker goes up next. This is looking grim for Dr. Dickhead. Swift Strike comes out. Huge AoE. And unfortunately kills both. Little Leela does have the re-raise, though. Can she pull off anything crazy? I assume she's going to try and heal herself here. She does. She heals herself. I assume that these next 2 units are going to go before her and probably just take her out. Twin Chi Rupture comes out. Joker, having an innate 2 jump, has no issues getting into range. Takes out the Little Leela Halloween. So actually a very close fight. Honestly, if Little Leela Halloween goes for damage instead of a heal, they might have been able to kill the Garvel. And if they do that 2v1, like, maybe they pull that off. I don't know. Turambar, congratulations, 4-0. Should be very proud. Your team is really good, and you've been executing to perfection. So, Dr. Dickhead, congratulations to you for also being the first person to take a game off him. So, very, very cool. And we'll check out the very next series here. All right, guys, so for our 4th series out of our 5, we have Unhindered with the Perfect Storm versus Spike and Bebop's crew. Spike getting his very first win last week against my team. We don't like to talk about that, however. Unhindered with the Perfect Storm sitting at 4 points. So interesting looking at these team comps and how they kind of go against each other here. So I would say that Unhindered kind of has an elemental advantage in the sense that he has fire and wind. And if you look at just like fire and wind versus ice and earth, he technically has that like top part of the elemental exchange. However, Spike does have Celis, so that's not even necessarily true, because if you look at the 2 fire units that Unhindered has, they're both magic damage dealers, and Celis is going to eat them for breakfast if he brings them out. So interesting to see what Unhindered will do, because if he brings fire and Spike brings Celis, I think it's very unlikely that he has a decent shot, to be honest. However, if he brings ice and Spike or if he brings wind and Spike brings ice, I don't know, could be tricky. So the more and more I look at it, maybe Spike does have the elemental advantage. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, though. And let's take a look at how it worked out for match 1. All right, guys, so match 1 here, we have Grace showing in slot 1 and Lucia showing in slot 1. And just so you guys know, if you've been paying attention to the game music and stuff like that, I did get some requests to put the in-game music back in while during fights. I will say this fight here was recorded without sound, however. So I'm trying my best to try and make it as watchable for everybody who is watching the content. I appreciate all of you guys liking, subscribing, enjoying the whole thing here. This league has been really, really fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So anyway, he was running the Celeste Raldor Grace combination, which is very, very cool to see. First time seeing the Celeste pop out, and Unhindered running double win with Rain. So didn't want to fully commit into one element. I think that's probably a smart move. Like I said, if you went double fire into Celeste, it's probably just game over. Celeste popping the Joom TMR, so trying to get both defense and spirit up. Probably a good move considering that Rain is more just magically tanky than he is physically. Sharpshoot comes out, crit for 2385, so Celeste tanks this pretty well. And I will say Spike did tell me that he decided to bring Celeste because he kind of anticipated 1, maybe 2 fire units right out of the gate, and he also felt like Celeste can stack a lot of unit resist, which was something that he felt like was really important against Unhindered's team. So Fatal Succession comes out, and Celeste has taken about a total of 4,000 damage up to this point. So Rain does get his hate buff up, though, which is huge. Celeste walks up. Cleansing Blade only does 430, so Rain tanks that very well. The nice thing about Celeste, though, is any dispel that or any like debuff that she had, she basically just got rid of with that Cleansing Blade. So a very cool tech by her. Raldor comes up, pops the limit break, something we do not get to see very awesome. The Chasm Render comes out, dunks on Rain for 6,000 damage. Very, very cool attack. I love seeing Raldor in these fights. Just a unit that we don't get to see very often, and one of the huge parts why I love watching Draft League is seeing these units we don't see. Lorela, Raldor, you just don't get to see it. So very, very cool. Fatal Succession comes out again. What can Rain do here? Does he go for a slash attack? He doesn't. He goes for Flaming Impact. So unfortunately, Celis's runic ability will absorb that, and she's going to pop the limit break. So what can she do to the opposing team here? Nothing crazy. Only 386 to the Rain, 2,000 damage to the Lucia. However, Lucia's starting to run a little low on AP. Does pop the Spiteful Blast and lands slow on Raldor, which is nice. However, Spike has this Grace in the back who is just churning out heals, and Demolition Fist comes down for 6k damage onto the Rain, so gets rid of the tank. And Spike's tank is looking very, very healthy. That Curaga from Grace being a really nice heal and also pumping AoE resist up, a very, very cool skill. Another unit that we don't get to see in a lot of WoTV fights, and another reason why I love Draft League. So Lucia has no AP. She's going to go for an auto attack, 1780 on the Celis. And what is Raldor's AP situation looking like? That's another question. I think at some point, like, Spike probably runs out of Curagas. Like, I don't know how many uses she gets of it. It's probably 3, maybe 4, something like that. However, Unhindered's team getting very low. He's going to have to start doing a lot of AoE damage if he's able to come out. Reflex, though, is always in play. Something that is always a trump card, potentially. So 30 AP with the Lucia. Spiteful Blast comes out. Unfortunately, can't kill the Grace. That would be actually pretty huge, being able to take the healer out in the back. Celis getting low. Sleep Blade takes out the Lorela, and it is 3v1. It's looking pretty grim here for Lucia. Mind Enhancer comes out, so I don't know if she's out of heals. I think she would have healed Celis if she had some. So however many uses she used, that's probably it. Celis goes down, but you have to imagine Raldor with that movement is going to be able to go in. Demon Purger, 4,700 damage, and takes out the Lucia. So absolutely awesome showcase for Raldor there, and the Grace, to be honest. The Grace did very, very well. Just really, really well done by Spike's team. A very, very good call in terms of what he expected to see from Unhindered, and I'm very curious to see how Unhindered changes his team for match 2. All right, so match 2 here. Spike did tell me he expected a switch into ice for match 2, considering that Celeste shut down the fire so incredibly well. So you're seeing the Winter Luartha as slot 1 unit and Nasha slot 1 also. So yeah, Spike bringing back his OG team from the original week 1, the Nasha McLeod Sottily team. I think this team is still very, very good, even though it hasn't gotten a win yet. And Unhindered still running the Rain, so didn't fully commit into win, but changed it up a little bit, went with Winter Luartha and Cyrell instead. So curious to see how the changeup goes here. Switched away from Missile into Pierce and Slash. So Call the Wild comes up, accuracy up, slash attack piercing rate up. Cyrell, even though she is, I think, only 50 cost, might be 60, she does very, very strong damage. Actually, she has to be 50 cost or else Unhindered wouldn't even be able to make this cost limit. So she's got to be 50. But Nasha getting her buffs off to try and get as tanky as possible. And Divine Sacrament coming out from Sottily. I love this pairing too, also from Spike, for the reason that Sottily getting the hate buff up on Nasha is nice because Nasha has innate hate, but she doesn't gain hate by using one of her buffs. So if you take a unit like Charlotte who runs like Attract Wall, that Attract Wall doesn't stack with Sottily's hate buff. So the hate buff is kind of not that great. As you're going to see, as you probably have seen in one of Ready Player Will's, video, he talks about how that buff is kind of overrated. However, in these situations where Nasha has starting hate and not a buff of hate, I think it actually can be really useful because now she has way more hate than she normally would. And if you don't have Dispel, which in a lot of these kind of matches, there's not as many units who have Dispel, well, then it actually can be very, very important. So, all right, so Cyrell walks up. She doesn't have any more buffs to cast. What is Rain going to be able to do to the Iced unit? So it has the elemental advantage, but Nasha typically has a lot of slash resist, only takes like 1,000 damage. So tanked incredibly well by Nasha, considering the elemental disadvantage. Winter Luartha, who is a great damage dealer, only does 2,400. So this Nasha is a beast for a 50 cost unit. And one of the coolest techs that I think she has S-Una, so she can heal her own status effect. Sottily walks up, procs the Confusion onto Rain. And I have to say, at this point, I'm definitely giving the advantage to Spike. How can Unhindered turn this around, though? Cyrell walking up, only 1,392 damage onto the Nasha. Winter Luartha goes next. Javelin Fall, huge damage onto the Sottily, though. If that one shot, man, that would be absolutely massive. I do apologize for the notifications coming up on screen. Like I said, we do record. Every single player records the videos, and that's how we get these recordings. So sometimes those pop up whenever people are filming, so no worries. However, the damage comes out from a cloud, and then Sottily follows it up. Unfortunately, Winter Luartha not being able to one-shot that Sottily, becoming huge to this point now. Unless Rain can turn around and do a huge AoE, which it looks like McLeod's going to get to go first. Binding Javelin. Spike gets another 3-0 here. Very, very well played by Spike. So another win for him, another 2-0 victory. And somebody who was in last place after the first 2 weeks, now all of a sudden sitting with 6 points, looking very good in the standings. So congratulations to Spike. And very, very nice try from Unhindered. Loved seeing the different units showcased here. And let's check out our very final match. All right, guys, so for our final series of the day, we have JesusLBL with the Strawhats versus SurfTaco and the Sheerans. And I had to save this match for last because I thought this was a really, really cool match between these two teams. And the biggest thing is Final Fantasy Tactics came out this week, and wouldn't you know it, JesusLBL is the team with the Final Fantasy Tactics characters. So he has both Ramza and Gafgarian, so I would love to see one of these units come out this week. Spoiler alert, we're going to see one of them come out this week. So it'll be cool to be able to see whether they succeed or, you know, kind of how that goes. Looking at Jesus's team up to this point, Whisper has been absolutely dominant. He's pulled him out the last 2 weeks and gone 4-0 with Whisper. So very, very impressive. So curious to see if Whisper makes a showing here or if Jesus decides to change up his team comp. SurfTaco has some really, really good pairings of units with Asterisk Glaciella or Jaden Warrior of Light or RNA Victoria. And then he has those Time Mages as support in the background. So I love those kind of setups because regardless of whether you have full mono element or you just have the two units together that are mono element, you can essentially use mono element vision cards because the Time Mage really doesn't need those VCs to work really well. So I love those strategies from SurfTaco. Curious to see which ones he brings out here, and let's get into it. All right, guys, match one here. So Jesus versus SurfTaco. We have Fina showing, and we have Jaden showing. So Jesus at least switching up his team from the last couple weeks. Curious to see what he's running at this point. I already know what he's running at this point. He's running Ramza, and that's why we had to save this for the last match of the day. Had to see some Final Fantasy Tactics units come out. So checking out this early buff rotation, we've got Elsurel coming up and getting the AoE party buff up. This Ramza buff is so freaking good. Getting the AoE protect on the party, and the buff range is absolutely massive. So very, very cool buff rotation by him. And Ramza, honestly, just for his support ability there, is immediately useful in my opinion. SurfTaco running the mono light setup. So he has Warrior Light as the tank. Jaden, not surprising me at all. Like I said, on this map, I think missile units are very, very strong. So seeing somebody with huge range like Jaden in the back, with Phoebe being able to like haste and quicken him, seems like a very solid strategy. So Fina gonna pop that aim fire buff up. This actually could make a difference because Elsurel does have double gunner sub. So curious to see if Jesus is running that double gunner sub or not. The Quicken comes out. I don't think Jaden is in range yet. He is not. Gets a sniper stance up though, and he's got 174 AP at this point. So Warrior of Light walking up. He's got his hate, I believe, with the Brave Presence. And Elsurel actually repeating her own buff, but at least she gets AP from it, so that can still be useful. Tailwind Holy coming up. I believe it's slash attack up, unit attack resist. Another really, really cool buff by Ramza here. Another Quicken comes off. Unfortunately, Jaden, I think, is still not in range. So these Quickens coming online, but nothing to show for it yet. I'm assuming she's going to channel another one here, probably on the Warrior of Light, because I assume he has the hate. And what can Warrior of Light do? Pops the stop strike on Elsurel. Golden Magic Shot comes out. Really, really good damage onto the Elsurel. What can Ramza do at this point? He has a ton of mobility. Actually pops the Ultima. This limit break is so strange because he's mostly a physical character, but this is a magic damage limit break. However, it removes all buffs. So this actually removes the hate off of Warrior of Light. So can this help out Jesus' team if he's able to get in the backline on Jaden instead of having to hit Warrior of Light? As you're going to see here, Fina's going to hit Jaden. So that buff strip was actually very useful for that. Phoebe going to pop either a haste or a quicken on Jaden though. 9,975 damage, a ton of damage coming out from Jaden. If Ramza can kill him though, this might not be over. He does. He kills the Jaden. So can he pull off the 1v2 between Phoebe and Warrior of Light? Phoebe likely not going to do a ton of damage, but we'll see how it plays out. Stop strike lands though. The stop hits on Ramza. He's not going to be doing anything for a few turns. And as soon as I say that Phoebe doesn't do damage, she walks up and meteors for 5,500. Holy cow. And this is now looking very, very bad for Jesus. As soon as you thought he had a chance with the Ramza damage, the stop and the Phoebe damage says, no thank you, we're going to be taking match one. And we'll see how this slow bleed goes. Can Phoebe get her first kill of the season? She can, with the Comet, 4,858 damage. Phoebe has a ton of assists. She is one of our assist leaders, but she gets her very first kill on the board of the season. So very, very cool. I will say that Jesus told me going into this series that he built this light team to beat both the water and the ice team. So the one team he didn't want to see was the light team, and that is what he saw from SurfTaco match one. So curious to see how they switch this up for round two. All right, guys, so match two here between SurfTaco and Jesus. SurfTaco is switching to the water team. Jesus is running it back the same way. Jesus did say that he essentially wanted to run the same team, but switch, I think, some of his Espers and maybe TMR buffs to help combat versus the light team a little better. He felt like this three-man team could beat any of SurfTaco's options if he optimized it a little better. So curious to see if that's the case or if SurfTaco pulls out the 2-0. But again, like we said, this team was designed to beat the water team. So we'll see if it actually works how it's intended. Glaciella popping War Maiden's Vitality. So different than SurfTaco's other setups that he's ran in different weeks. A lot of times he runs the Kane TMR with Dragoon's Pride. This time he actually goes with the slash attack resist up. Probably a decent move considering he's going against El and Ramza. So that double resist gets the pierce and missile attack resist up. So again, that's useful against both the ice and light team. And the protect should be useful against both Astraeus and Glaciella. Gets a really nice buff up on turn 2 here for Glaciella. Quicken onto Astraeus. What kind of damage can he walk up and do? Actually, none. He actually pops up his deep fortification buff. So Jesus should be able to get a little bit of damage here. And I say a little bit, but that's a good chunk. That's a really good chunk of damage on them. Dual Trigger comes out, instantly pops the Glaciella. And holy cow, this team might actually be designed to beat this water team. A very good start for Jesus. Ramza comes out, Shimmering Blade Plus. Doesn't quite proc the courage for Astraeus here. Still has 708 damage, and never count Astraeus out. But however, Elturel actually gets a predictive fire, so procs his courage on the counter ability. Quicken comes out. Sonic Severance for 10k. If you don't know, that is Rob Horn's VC ability. So I think SurfTaco probably thinking it's possible he could have seen a Light of Aid team come out from Jesus and brought the Rob Horn VC in the sub slot. A very, very cool move. I actually do that on Ravi sometimes when I run her in limited guild battle. Dual Trigger comes out, and this is a healthy 3-man team for Jesus. You have to imagine this is over. The Limit Break will come out from Astraeus. This is probably going to kill Fina, but it's likely going to be all for naught, as I imagine they should be able to take him out here. Shimmering Blade Plus comes out, and we are going into a game 3 in our final series. So Ramza looking very strong in that match. A lot of movement, a lot of really, really good damage, and his buffs to start the fight are honestly really, really solid. So let's see how SurfTaco adapts for the final match. All right, guys, final match of the day. Thank you guys so much for watching up until this point. You guys are really, really awesome. I appreciate all the support for this league. It's been really, really fun to run this. We still have 5 more weeks after this, and then we have the playoffs. So it's going to be running for quite a while. If you guys don't know, I do have a playlist set up for this. So if you haven't watched the other videos, check out that playlist. You can watch the draft analysis video, and then all the videos after that. You can just binge them all if you really want. So let's see how it goes. Anyway, Jesus running the exact same team he did the first 2 times. And it looks like SurfTaco going back to the light team that originally beat this team. So let's see if Jesus's changes are enough to beat the light team, or if SurfTaco still wins as he did in round 1. So the AoE resist buff coming out, King Mont TMR, this is actually a really good, I think, change up. I don't think he ran this the first match. Maybe he did, but I think he ran aim fire instead. So Phoebe going to channel. I think it's likely another Quicken. Now the aim fire buff comes out. So maybe that was the same buff rotation. I'm actually not 100% sure about that. Inherited Tyranny comes out for Ramza though. Defense pen up and AP restore from Odoa TMR. A very, very good TMR option, especially for him because he doesn't have a ton of defense pen. So very, very cool. And slash attack up, a defense piercing rate up. She's going to just keep stacking that same buff. She really doesn't have much else to do right now. Invincible shield comes out though. Physical and magic shield for Warrior of Light. And March of the Stag comes out. Agility up, magic up. And at some point, somebody's going to start hitting. Ramza has a lot of movement, so I imagine it's right here. Here is the Ultima. So stripping the buffs off of Warrior of Light. Very, very good ability. Quicken comes out, but it's on Warrior of Light, not Jaden. So unless he can land a stop strike, it does not land. It landed in the first match. It didn't land this time. If he can land another one, it could be really important. But Sparkle Shower comes up, and they are able to hit the backline. They are not giving a shit about this tank right now. Although I say that, Nelsrel is going to walk up and limit break the tank, so... the limit break is so funny. Only 723 damage though, so Warrior of Light tanking very well when he is actually able to take the hits. What can Jaden do here? Golden Magic Shot, 6,100 damage. Not enough to take out the Fina. What can Ramza do with all that movement? Shimmering Blade Plus takes down the Phoebe, gets the Jaden very low. And Warrior of Light takes out Fina. So it is a 2v2 right now. Elsorel goes next. Dual trigger. She cannot reach the Jaden, so she hits the Warrior of Light. Jaden goes next. Can she get a Magic Blast Plus? No, he actually goes for Jamming Thrust. Single target damage. You have to imagine Ramza takes out Jaden here. He does. Now it is a 2v1. Is this the reverse sweep for JesusLBL here? And getting a really nice chain, actually. Elsorel went twice in a row there. Shimmering Blade comes out. And Warrior of Light absorbing a lot of this damage, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do enough back to them. Elsorel's going to go next. You have to imagine that this is the game. Not quite. Ramza might pick up the final kill here. The Final Fantasy Tactics unit. 909 on the auto attack. And that's going to do it, guys. JesusLBL pulls out the win, the reverse sweep. He lost match 1 and then wins match 2 and 3 to pick up another 3 points in the standings. Speaking of which, let's see how the standings look as of right now. All right, guys, so we're 4 weeks into the books here. Turambar, a clean 4-0-0, sitting up at the top all by himself with 12 points. I actually play him next week, so I'm hoping to be the first person to ever take him down. We'll see how it goes. I'm not super confident, but I think I have a shot. So we'll see how it pans out. JesusLBL sitting in second place with 9 points. SurfTaco and MaechenX in a 2-way tie for third at 7. Sandrooster, Spike, and JEBAW all sitting in a 3-way tie for fifth at 6 points. Dr. Dickhead picking up 1 this week puts him at 5 in 8th place. And unfortunately, me and Unhindered bringing up the rear at 4 points. However, like I said, there's still 5 weeks left. And the difference between third place and last place is 1 win. So anything can happen. There's so many weeks left. And if you guys don't know, the top 6 teams make the playoffs. So after 9 weeks of regular season, top 6 teams make the playoffs. First 2 teams get the bye, and then 3 through 6 play each other in the first round. They're actually best of 5s in the playoffs, so it'll be very, very interesting to see how that goes. Anyway, let's check out some of the stat leaders after week 4. So for kill leaders, you're going to see some familiar faces from the last couple weeks. Number 1, we've got Garvel. He has been used so often. He's actually been in every single match that Turambar has gone all season. He is the kill leader at 10 kills total, 1.11 kills per match. Astrius in second, Joker in third, Ibarra and Terra tied for 4th. Little Leela the Bold, Ramza, Starlight, Elena, McLeod, and Cloud, and Helena Blackrobe Witch, who is not listed there, all tied at 6 kills. Ignore that 7th and 8th. I don't know why that's there. That is a mistake on my part, but they are all tied for 6 kills. For the KDA leaders, you're going to see the Fire Ferrets taking the cake here. Number 1, Joker and Garvel. Joker with an 18 KDA, which is just absolutely nuts. Garvel number 2, Astrius, Ibarra, Ramza, Elsorel, Leela the Bold, Sakura, Ketone, and Silma. And for finally the assist leaders, we've got Renell in first with 15 assists, Whisper, Phoebe, Garvel, Little Leela Halloween, Nasha, Vistral, Joker, Fina, and Glaciella Wazette in last for the assist leaders. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I've been putting a lot of time and effort into this league with like updating all these types of graphics and trying to shoutcast the matches and stuff. I would really appreciate any feedback down below. If you want me to change anything from the sound, how I explore some of the matches, like how I talk about them, whether you want me to be a little more analytical or the exact opposite, you know, just let me know. Whatever you guys think. However, this would help improve the content for you guys to watch, help it be more entertaining. Please let me know down below. Like I said, I'm having such a blast in this league. I'm unfortunately not doing extremely well, but I am confident that I can turn it around at this point. Like I said, I think I had some pretty rough matchups, and I think they do get slightly better for me as they go. But we'll see. This league is incredibly competitive, and it's been very fun. Getting to see so many units that just don't get play anymore has been an absolute blast, and it's just been awesome. So for all you guys that watch this and support it, I really truly appreciate you guys. We'll see you in week 5. Have a wonderful day.